to another episode of The Man Space. My co-host Kunle and I are absolutely delighted to have the honor and the opportunity to have important conversations with gentlemen of different generations from different parts of the world, from different walks of life, because we are committed to bring their stories, their challenges, and their triumphant journeys to you, because there's not enough opportunities for men to be seen in places and spaces, to be heard, understood, and to seek assistance. We live in a world and an era where it is considered not manly to feel, to ask for help, ask for guidance, and to seek support. And that is a toxicity we as humans have created. And it's going to take good men and good women to come together to change that trajectory. Because just like every human, men are human. They too are feeling beings who happen to have the capacity to think and act differently from one another. But what unites us and the common singular thread is we all feel. And denying an entire gender of the human race the need to feel, the right to feel, is causing us too much harm. And we need to get past this. And thank you for joining us to have this conversation. And our special guest today is Rudy. Rudy and I go way back. I consider him a dear friend of mine. We are business partners and we are colleagues because we're focused on the importance of teaching people how money works. Because we understand, in addition to mental health and emotional resilience, people need financial health and financial resilience. They are the two bookends of life. And when we give people the opportunity to learn how money works and put some resiliency for themselves and their loved ones around their life with financial well-being and financial wellness, then it enhances the mental wellness. It enhances the resiliency as a human in other ways. So please take this opportunity to welcome Rudy to our Man Space. Welcome, Rudy.
Thank you, Cass. Pleasure to be here, you guys.
Absolutely delighted. And I want us to kick off this conversation with, you have had a challenging circumstances you grew up with, and something in you and some people in your life have helped you navigate it. And you are where you are today. And you are not only trying to keep your head above water given the circumstances, you're actually making an impact in other people's lives. So talk to us about what your circumstances were and what brought you into the world of helping people understand how money works.
Oh, that's an interesting story. So I'll start with I was diagnosed with ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and autism when I was 7. What that entailed was I was the hyper kid. I was the eccentric one. I had unique interests when I was young because regular things were very boring. I collected coins, I collected antiques. I was that kid. And the challenges that entailed was social skills were not really on my list of priorities. I couldn't really navigate those things. But one thing I realized over the years that I really loved was I loved talking to people. Even though I was very shy in high school, even though I had very little confidence growing up, something clicked in me saying, wow, I like to talk to people, I like to help people. And that manifested in a couple of different sales jobs, cell phones. I sold cars for a short time. That was my dream job, actually, because I'm a very avid car enthusiast. Everybody will know this about me very quickly. And what ended up happening is I ended up losing my dream job because of the pandemic. And that ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me. Because throughout my journey, I realized that I wanted to make a generational impact because I felt in my life that I was meant to do something really special. I wasn't meant to just cruise through life, doing 9 to 5s and what have you. I thought with my brain, with my unique view on the world, that I was supposed to do more than just 9 to 5, retire, blah, blah, blah. And what ended up happening is I joined a bunch of networking events and trying to figure out what people were doing, during a global pandemic and a recession. And I'm like, okay, what's out there? And I ended up meeting a woman, and this ties into my neurodivergence so well. Her name was Cassidy, one of the most bubbly, vivacious people I've ever met. And she told me she teaches people how money works. And I was like, ooh, that's different than all the health and wellness stuff and the MLM stuff and the crypto stuff I've heard ad nauseum for the past 3 months. Okay, let's talk. Also, I couldn't say no to her because she was so bubbly. I can't say no to bubbly people. And but what ended up happening was a bit of a surprise. So I got an education I didn't think I needed, which was very impactful. And I got kind of mad because I was like, well, why aren't we teaching financial literacy like this at school? Seriously, I thought they were supposed to teach you how to do this thing called adulting. Nope. So that kind of got me fired up a little bit. And the big thing that happened is I found out she has ADHD like I do. And I'm like, oh, wow, small world. Interesting. We knew each other a week. She knew me better than I knew me. And I'm thinking, what is going on? How does this gal know me so well? She explained my life to me. She explained why I was a bit of an impulse buyer. She explained why I was a bit of a lead foot. Explained why, basically the reasoning for why I had a relationship to money that I did. I bought things because they made me happy, which regulated my dopamine levels, which basically ADHD is a dopamine deficiency in the brain, the happy chemical. And forgive me, my allergies are slightly hitting me this morning, but that chemical imbalance created and caused behavior patterns. Like, oh, I'm going to buy this because it makes me happy. I bought a car once without telling my girlfriend at the time. Don't do that. She didn't kill me, but I became her chauffeur that day. But what ended up happening was I had an understanding of me that I'd never had before. This was probably about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. And I realized that, wow, I'm not broken. I can do things. I just have to adjust my brain chemistry a little. Because for a long time, I didn't think I could do things. I thought I was kind of broken. I liked helping people. I liked being in that world of making a difference in people's lives, but some things I just couldn't do, and I was really frustrated. And what ended up happening was I ended up learning so much about me, and I was able to get that brain chemistry adjustment that made it so I could actually think. I wouldn't be paralyzed with worry or anxiety or fear or depression or any myriad of issues I was dealing with because of that. But I could actually function and I could speak my voice. I could be me. And then when I started connecting the dots of, oh, geez, if I become an entrepreneur, I could be me, my authentic self. And people would love that. I fell in love with not just the idea of the business, which made so much sense from the business perspective, like, oh, helping people generation with money sounds like a great idea and people need it. So on paper, that made total sense, which I had to say yes to. But the personal growth aspect of all of this, where I've grown more in the past 2.5 years than I have in the past 20, that says a lot. And it allowed me to blossom into who I am today. And I am so grateful because I meet people like you guys. And at the end of the day, it's furthering a message. It's furthering a crusade of financial wellness and understanding. But also, I've met so many entrepreneurs that are neurodivergent like me. So many. It was a little bit surprising at first. I was like, wow, I met like 4 neurodivergent people in a month. Or sometimes even in a couple of weeks. I'm like, this is awesome. Because this is the space that allows us to be us. We're not constrained by boxes. We're not constrained by having a boss. We can just be us. Whatever that is manifesting into, we can be ourselves. And entrepreneurship is the one space that we're allowed to do that. And because of that, we have a bit of I want to say, an unfair advantage. Yeah.
Wow.
That's my story.
Wow. What a story. What a very, very powerful story you just shared. And right while you were sharing, you mentioned one thing so powerful that I had to repeat it silently with you when you said, I am not broken. That's so powerful. I mean, it comes with that inner strength and inner realization, like you mentioned, the focus, because where focus goes, energy flows. And that has been like something so powerful and very profound that you just shared with us, stemming from your personal story. And that's something that we need in our world today. And most men who will be watching this will need to listen to what you have just said and see how they can use that as a springboard in refocusing and reshaping their lives. I want you to speak to our men who are really watching right now about how they can find that inner strength irrespective of their vulnerability, how to find strength in the midst of their vulnerability. Because I know there must have been a lot of things that you have experienced within the society based on how the society had been constructed, the social construct that the society holds, how you went against all odds and you became someone who is also offering support to people. How can men who are watching you also find that path to greatness that you have also put yourself into? Rudy.
So glad you asked that because I was really going to lead into that. Great minds think alike. So there's a few different elements to that. Now, granted, I was raised in a household of women. The beautiful part of that is they taught me that it's okay to express my emotions and it's okay to feel. It's actually okay to cry too. That was a big part of growing up that I've been very blessed about. Now, the interesting thing is when we look within our own shadows, this is where it gets kind of tricky. When we're in that space of vulnerability, it can be very hard to find the stoicism that I truly believe everyone has, but it's connecting the energy of who you are, irrespective of the moment, that you, in fact, can achieve your goals and your dreams. And in fact, this reminds me of a saying, the old adage, you're 3 feet from gold. You might be struggling right now. It might be really hard. Life might suck. I've been there. I've been in those moments. They're just terrifying. It's like, I don't know what to do with my life. I don't know where things are going. What am I supposed to do? The world's ending. Been there. Been there. But it's temporary. It's always temporary. Whatever you're feeling in the moment ain't going to last forever. It's not. And to be aware of that, to be present in the moment, saying, okay, this is where I'm at. And this is something I had to learn many times. Worrying does nothing. It only makes you feel worse. Focus on a solution, even if it's very small. If I can help myself feel just a little bit better, concentrate on that. Okay, I'm miserable. What can I do to make myself feel a little better? I'm going to go grab something to eat. I'm going to grab something a little sweet. I'm going to go grab an ice cream. Okay, I feel a little bit better. Now I can kind of breathe a little. Or hey, maybe I'll go play video games for a minute. Maybe I'll go outside and breathe a little. Go hang out with friends. Don't expect to feel 100% better immediately. But start on that path. Start on the path of feeling just maybe 1% better, 2% better. Those little incremental actions, I think, can really help somebody get out of a rut. And I've been there too. Like I said, I've been in moments where I've just been an absolute disaster, and moments where I did feel like, oh God, I must be broken because I can't be successful. Da, 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 da. I've been there. It's like, okay, one day at a time. One day at a time. Because you can't fix it all immediately. You got to start. Start with something easy. Start with something simple. Take care of one thing. Or do one thing for yourself. And remember that also self-love is so important. Okay, you might be miserable now, but what did you do that was awesome a week ago? What did you do that was awesome a month ago? But remember that no matter what you're going through, you got people that really, really care about you. no matter what. There's people out there that really care. And I've dealt with that too. I've dealt with people that were very, very, very unhappy. And I said, I'm here for you. Sometimes that's all it takes. If you have a confidant, if you have a friend, if you have somebody that you can lean on to say, hey, I'm struggling. And admitting that as a guy can be really, really difficult. But on the other side of that, it is very liberating, because then you might find that, oh, I'm struggling. Yeah, I was struggling a week ago. Oh, it's not just me. Because I think sometimes when us guys are struggling, we might feel like we're all alone. Oh, no. Oh, no. We're not alone. But we feel like we are, because as a culture, again, we're not supposed to. We're not supposed to struggle. We're supposed to be stoic 24/7. We're supposed to have no emotions. We're supposed to be, pillars of strength. It's like, okay, guess what? Pillars could crack. Okay. It's okay to feel a little bit off center. And here's the problem, because we don't express those feelings, they get worse. And we could spiral pretty quick because we don't know. It's like a pressure cooker. You don't tend to, things to blow up. It's the same thing. If we don't tend to your emotions, if you don't acknowledge them, this is something that one of my former psychologists taught me, is acknowledge an emotion and let it go. Okay, I feel this way. Okay, I feel this way. Cool. I acknowledged it. Now, what's the next thing? Let's move forward. That type of self-awareness is really hard. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. It's not easy to have that. It's not. But if you practice it, if you get to the point where you can have even just a teeny bit, like, okay, I'm not quite feeling right. It feels a little bit off today. Wonder what that could be. What am I feeling? And with relationships, you have to have a healthy relationship to yourself. We're not taught that either. We're not taught to have relationships with ourselves. We're taught to have relationships with other people, sure. We're not taught to have relationships to ourselves. That could start the self-dialogue of, oh, Rudy, you're not feeling good today. What's up? What's wrong? Oh, well, kind of, well, tell me what's going on, Rudy. What's up? Having that self-dialogue is so important, because then when you can have those conversations with yourself, if you're not feeling good, you could express your feelings to yourself, like, oh, I'm struggling. Then it makes it easier to express your feelings to other people. Hey, I obviously could tell myself I'm struggling. Why can't I tell a good friend or a confidant, hey, I'm struggling. Can you help me out? It makes it easier to communicate with other people that, hey, you're not doing that great. And then you can get the help you might need. Because I have reached out to people when I was struggling. Hey, I'm having a bad day. Let's talk about it. And sometimes sometimes it could be the opposite. Sometimes it might be easier to reach out to other people saying, hey, I'm struggling, but it might be really difficult for you to reach into yourself and say you're struggling. So sometimes it could be the opposite. I've experienced both. But it's all part of an emotional journey within yourself, whether you start from outside in or inside out. The dialogue, once the dialogue gets started, you can be much more in touch with your emotions and feelings.
That is not just brilliant, but it is also deeply personal. And as I'm hearing you share this, Rudy, two things that intersect and dovetail to create an environment of either coming out of a situation or spiraling, right? And that is understanding that it's baby steps. A series of baby steps gets you started on a journey. You don't need to see. Just like when we drive, if you can see one car length, you can drive. But if you can't see your own dashboard, don't drive, right? And so can you see far enough to take the first step? Take that. And every step you take is going to make the next step easier. So that discipline and that faith in something larger than us, that the path will show up if I take my first step. That is one element. And the other is truly recognizing that I have feelings. I need to acknowledge it. I need to recognize it. And when I recognize it, then every little step I take is going to help me clear up what I do with this emotion. What do I do with this feeling? And then as you take that journey, then your thinking clears up, the action gets focused. And all of a sudden, you are on a journey as a whole person where you're thinking, feeling, and acting in tandem. And you painted that picture so beautifully, but it doesn't happen overnight. And it doesn't happen without a lot of breakdowns and a lot of fear and affirmation, fear from within you and affirmation from around you. What can people outside of this experience do to hold space and facilitate that journey? How can we be of service for those who are taking the journey like you did?
Practice mindfulness. That is such a big thing that I've had to learn. Practice mindfulness and being present. I play frisbee golf every once in a while. I need to get back into it because I really need to get back into being a little more active. But there's something I learned from playing that sport. You have to concentrate on the shot you're taking. You can't think about the one you took before. You got to think about the one you're going to take after the one you're doing. There's been times where I've thrown that disc and it has been bad. I threw it and it was way off where I wanted to. I'm like, oh man, that is not good. It is way over there, and I was not aiming for that. But I was able to recover. Oh look, I scored a 4. Thought I was going to score 6. I scored a 4 because I didn't let that one massive, oh no, I totally screwed that up. I didn't let that affect me. I said, okay, that happened. Cool. What can you do to recover? Being in the moment, being present. Okay, I'm here now. What's my next step forward? Let me do this thing. Not going to think about 2, 3, 4, 5 steps in front. Oh no, that's not going to make any difference. It's only going to stress you out. And then when people get stressed, they don't take action. Been there, done that more times than I can count. Stick their head in the sand, like I can't do it, too much. And I think the big piece to that puzzle is when you are present and in the moment, everything else quiets down. The noise quiets down. And I think one thing that us guys could have happen is with all the noise in the world, because we can't express how we feel about it, it's that much louder. We can't say, hey, this is a little too much for me right now. I can't deal with it. And because we can't say that, culturally, we're not supposed to, all that noise, all that static, all that craziness in the world bottles up in our minds, and it makes it really hard for us to do anything. We can sometimes just totally break down and shatter because we're not allowed to be present. We're not allowed to be in the moment because we're asked and expected to be everywhere all the time. And we can't be that. We might look like we can be. Oh no, we can't. We might be able to for a very short time, but it's going to cause us a lot of damage. And the worst part is that's not always apparent. We won't see that. People won't see that because it's all internal. We'll feel it when we get snappy, when we get cranky, when we get, if we lash out at people that we care about. And then wonder, well, what's wrong with you? It's like, well, and of course we don't know how to express it. So we're like, oh, just, it's like, okay. But if we're present and we're mindful and we're aware of, hey, I'm having a moment. Okay. What do I do now? Take the next throw of the frisbee. Okay. Go from here to there. Do that. Okay. Breathe. Think. Acknowledge. Do the next thing. And then if you're able to have that communication with your significant other, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, what have you, they can understand, okay, you're on a journey or on a path. Let's take that next step together. I'm going to walk right beside you. And I talk about this with leadership all the time. I say, I can't lead you if I'm walking in front of you. It doesn't work. You're not going to see where you're going. I'm going to walk beside you, and we're going to walk that path together, side by side. Because then I can show you the holes I fell into, and you're not going to fall into them, and I'm not going to see it. We're going to navigate that path together. So that's kind of a leadership thing, but But it's important when walking the path of life that you have somebody walk beside you, not in front of you. And the only way to do that is to be mindful and to be present and to have somebody be that in that space with you.
Wow, that's powerful. I mean, it's very deep. I mean, I can see you share this from, the depth of your heart, the depth of your experience as a result of things not only learned, but things that have been put into practice, things that you have handled. And it's written all over those words of yours as they are coming out right there. And you are spot on when you talk about mindfulness, which is the act of staying in the present. How much do we need that in our world? And we could remember when COVID-19 struck in 2019, 2020, it was so, it taught us a lot of, lessons in the world. All of a sudden, not so much things matter any longer. All we were concerned about was just to be safe, to be sound, and all of a sudden everyone was present. So if we can just pick up that lesson and take it forward to know that the more present we are, the more we are in charge of our personal lives, our personal situations. And just like you mentioned, the more mindful you are, the lesser the noise that the world is putting out there. That is profound. I want you to leave with our people who are watching a kind of word that will help them. It could be one word, it could be, one paragraph, it could be a sentence that will help them, and that will also make them come back to watch this video over and over again, because you've got that word that somebody out there who is watching needs right now. Rudy.
Definitely. Oh, man. Yeah, that's definitely going to be a sentence. Breathing, presence, mindfulness, self-awareness. That's a really big one. Self-love, another big one. And understanding that it's okay to feel. It's okay to have emotions. It's okay to express yourself. Don't think about what the world thinks. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you feel whatever that might be, positive, negative, or anything in between. And if you can have a confidant in your life that can be there for you like that, it could be family, it could be friend, it could be anybody that you feel connected to. I've opened up to people that I barely knew because I felt a connection with them. As long as you can have that, and if you don't have that, if you can have that with yourself, that might be all you need. If you can have that conversation, like I was saying earlier, you can have that conversation with yourself. That might be what you need to pick yourself up out of that space you're in. And that'll allow you to go to where you really want to go. Sometimes you got out of that little self-talk. I sit outside on my old swing set I had since I was 4, and I have sometimes have little self-talk sessions. Hey, Rudy, how you feeling today? What's going on in your mind? How you doing? And as long as you can have that communication with who you are, with your inner self, whether that's through another person or through yourself, there's not much that can stop you in the world. Because you'll be able to navigate the pitfalls, that navigate the rough spots. You'll be able to move through those with grace and stoicism, and people will wonder, how on earth are you making it through that? Oh, I have good conversations with myself.
Thank you so much for those closing thoughts, Rudy. And this has been truly a grounding conversation for somebody so young to have the kind of wisdom you do is also inspiring. And we will make sure that our audience have a way to contact you and not only get in touch with you to learn and get to know how they can navigate their challenges, but also if they're curious to learn from you how money works, right? So we're going to make sure that we make those contacts possible. And thank you so much for taking the time and having the courage to be vulnerable enough to have this conversation in a world where it is taboo. What becomes a problem is that we are forced to keep certain things a secret, and dirty little secrets become toxic bombs, time bombs that are ticking inside of our own head and our heart, right? So thank you for shedding some light there and turning on the light to take away the darkness that a lot of people are in. And to our audience out there, Kunle and I truly believe that these conversations are necessary because that's the only way we bring light where there is no light. In the daylight, we can air out everything. Sunlight cleanses everything. And talking and giving it a name, giving it a voice, giving it a safe space is something that we all have a collective responsibility towards. So please look for the opportunities to heal yourself, reach out to people who can help you in that journey. And if you want to be a part of this conversation, come join us, because the Man Space is a safe place and a space. And we invite everybody to take this conscious, intentional journey, because we owe it to our boys and men to change the trajectory. And we owe it to our daughters and ourselves to be life partners to these men who are confidently walking alongside us.